Good morning, everybody. Firstly, my short visit here, Estonia, I really enjoy. All the concerned people, also they take every care. I very much appreciate. And then also the yesterday public meeting, large number of people as you can, in spite of the hot sun, they remain full, attentive survey, alert.
Full alert.
So I very much appreciate. Now, whenever I meet media people, I always sharing two things. Number one, as I briefly mentioned there also, my number one commitment as a human being, on the human level, of course, everybody want a happy life, successful life. Then, mistake in modern world, you see, people believe or that kind of attitude, the ultimate source of happiness, successful life is money or power. That's not the case. I notice among my friends, some are billionaire, very rich, but they ask me frankly, sometimes they really frankly told me they are very unhappy, too much stress, too much worry, and lonely feeling. Other hand, some poor people, very happy. So they sort of happiness or satisfaction much depend on our own inner value. So that I want to share. So therefore, I always make sort of effort, make better awareness. The ultimate source of happiness is within ourselves. So of course money important, but meantime there's no point to neglect about our inner value. And then inner value also, you see, not necessarily with religious belief. So my approach to promote human value through secular way. Then second commitment, on the level, now I am Buddhist monk. So more sort of acquaintance with follow of other tradition. It's very clear. In spite different philosophy, all have same practice of love, compassion, and with that, forgiveness, tolerance, and self-discipline, contentment, moral ethics. These are basis of moral ethics. So all major religious traditions have same potential, and the last few thousand years, they really served humanity immensely. And today also, millions of people get benefit from these various different religious traditions. In the future, also you see, they will they remain sort of source of inspiration to millions of people. Yet, not only in the history, past history, but even today, different religious faith sometimes causing conflict. Like in Northern Ireland, I noticed the Protestant and Catholic, some conflict. And then Islam world, Muslim world, Shia and Sunni, the same follower, and follower of same sort of teacher, Muhammad, and the same use Quran, but this is conflict. It is very, very unfortunate. And in some time back in Sri Lanka, Buddhists, Hindus, some sort of, what's the negative sort of attitude. It is very, very sad. So therefore, as a Buddhist monk, and also the quite a number of sort of friends from practitioner of various different religious traditions, so I always try to promote religious harmony on the basis of mutual understanding and mutual respect. That's my second commitment. So why I mentioned to you, the media people in modern time, and particularly in democratic society, media people have a certain responsibility to make awareness the people these things. So I always share these two commitments whenever I meet newsmen or media people. Yes. Now to media people, I always telling something very special. That's media people should have long nose, as long as elephant nose, and must smell in front, not only in front but behind. What's going on? Sorry. Whether for politicians or like me, religious leader, you must investigate what is really going on. That's very, very important. And in order to create sort of clean society, I think truthful society, all these wrongdoings must make clear, must make public, and particularly the democratic society. You also have the responsibility to build healthy society, honest, justice society. So sometimes you see the smart person, something lacking here, then they also, because they are really very smart, so they're doing some different things. So media people must investigate what's really going on. That I usually say. Provided you must be truthful, honest, unbiased. Then that's important. So that I want to tell you. Then previously, I have third commitment. That's regarding Tibetan, the political issue. Now that I already handed over completely to elected person. So I have no longer that sort of responsibility. Now questions.
Ja palun küsimused.
David Madlister from Reuters. We have a new premier in China.
New prime minister?
In China.
A new premier in China.
What's what?
Compared to the old one.
There's a new prime minister in China.
Premier, but this is what I'm told.
Oh, what do you mean?
In Tibet.
There's a new leadership.
I think at least the
In
last
Tibet, not in China.
Sorry?
Tibet.
last I think few years, I think at least 10 years. The same prime minister, China.
In Tibet, there is new prime minister.
get used to it. This is the,
That if you
okay,
mean
we have a new,
if
we-
you
there's
mean
a
Tibetan,
process for
then
a-
Tibet
there's
is
a
not
process
China.
There's a process
Viipe
for the
Tallinn.
election of a new premier in China. Let me put it this way there, and it's coming up. There's a hard line policy at the moment. What are you expecting from the new leadership in China?
No, not Prime Minister. I think Prime Minister also will change next year.
There's a
Leadership,
the process of leadership change.
New president, and with that, I think new other ministers, including Prime Minister. That's next year, 2012. So now everybody guessing what will happen. Nobody knows. In free country, open society, you may sort of predict something, but closed society and everything top state secret, so very difficult to know.
There are a lot of predictions about the year 2012, how significant that particular year will be for the mankind. So what does Your Holiness think about the predictions or the significance of the year 2012?
Yes, I heard some people rather sort of nervous. Something happened next year. Even some, I think, extendedly say, "Oh, end of the world." I think that's exaggerated. I don't think. One thing quite sort of certain, due to global warming, like tsunami, and some area too much flood, some area too much drought. These things, I think, increasing. That's quite certain. And then some people say next year one serious sort of because of firestorm, storm in sun. Storms are storm. They also the very strong flare up from sun. One serious sort of storm in the sun will take place next year. So that may affect our communication through satellite. That will disturb. Some say that. So during that period, you should take some retreat. No work, no telephone, no sort of mobile phone, and retreat.
What could people do themselves in order to feel more secure about their own future, both in 2012 and also in the future in general?
Oh. Now this planet, this sort of solar system, I think the age of sun itself, about 5 billion years. Now the life of the sun, another 5 billion of years. Then the sun also will change, will disappear. So then we, human being on this so small planet, will go. That's the nature process. Big Bang, then gradually you see new solar array. I think new cosmos you see start. Then gradually again you see disappear. Then from Buddhist viewpoint, another Big Bang happen. Go like that. So that's too far. No need worry. As I mentioned earlier, I think firstly, the inner sort of warm-heartedness. I think that we have the same potential. We everybody have the potential. We should realize that and try to create more compassionate family, more compassionate community, and finally global level like that. Then even some disasters happen. Like I think in some extent, I think like Japan, after the three consequences of disaster, earthquake, tsunami, then nuclear radioactive, but the local Japanese, full cooperation, no looting cases. I think in England, some sort of violent, then looting also you see took place. So the health, and I was told, you see, in New York, the September 11th event happened. Then after that disaster, New Yorker, you see, developed some kind of sense of community and work together and sharing is other sort of problem or like that. I heard. So therefore, more sort of trusted or cooperative sort of society, more compassionate, even disaster happen, much happier. Then perhaps human population increasing. Now nearly 7 billion. 20 years ago, around 6 billion. Now next 20 years, 7 to 8 billions, like that. So that's really sort of serious, very serious. So yesterday I mentioned that our economy system should be some kind of sustainable sort of economy, sort of development. You see, it is totally wrong, sort of with belief the nature resources limitless. One nature resources sort of reduce, another resources we will find, that kind of sort of belief. And then science can control the whole sort of nature. This, I think, extreme sort of expectation. So we must know the limitation. So I think the lifestyle, yesterday I mentioned, I noticed, this morning also I noticed around 5 o'clock from my window, I noticed almost no car. A few public transport, say, moving. Not like Delhi, not like New York or San Francisco, or like these big city or Tokyo. Oh, 24 hours, lot of car for that. And in car, only one person. That I think a little bit extreme. Now China also is copying that kind of sort of lifestyle. Impossible. 1.3 billion Chinese people own 1.3 billion car. Impossible. Similarly, India also is over billion population. Very difficult. So I think our lifestyle, I think, should be, now here we need the practice of contentment. Meantime, this gap, rich and poor, this is really not only immoral, but also it's a source of problem. We must reduce this gap, rich and poor. Then, I think average people, I think they are because the lifestyle, not too much of luxury way, some contentment, I think better. This is my view. Then many years, I think maybe 15 years ago, one time in Stockholm, some my friend told me in the river in the Stockholm, some time back no fish because of too much pollution. Then when I visit, I think third or second time there, they say now some fish gradually appear. That means they on the bank of the riverside river, those sort of industries, they pay much attention about the or pollution. And then also you see one time in Germany, I visited one factory. They mentioned that factory make the construction of that factory according to the minimum effect on environment or pollution like that. So we have some sort of technology, maybe a little bit expensive, but that also I think very, very important. We need industry, but keep in our mind minimum sort of effect like that.
Järgmiseks annab sõna Postimehele tema ja siis Postimees.
Holstein Alme from VOT Radio. As the clampdown and restrictions on monasteries, monks and nuns in Tibet continues, news from Tibet about more monks and nuns being arrested and imprisoned. We hear some of them do desperate actions, and they have mainly two demands: respect for human rights and freedom to practice religion, and for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to return to Tibet. Are there any sign of progress on any of these issues?
No progress. The restriction on religious religious matter the last few decades much increase. Reason, of course, communist. Even Chairman Mao himself, one occasion told me religion is poison. And then Tibet case, some hardliner communist. Yesterday, I think I mentioned the one-party meeting about more than 10 years ago. One-party secretary, hardliner, he actually mentioned in the meeting the ultimate source of threat, Tibet being separate from China, is Tibetan Buddhist faith. So they politically, the religious faith, very, very sensitive. So they, since then, like Lhasa University, previously they carry among the sort of text for lesson for study, some text, classical text they use. Since his sort of new policy, that's hardliner sort of person, then all classical text ban study. Only text translated from Chinese text. So actually, at that time, local Tibetan described the situation something like semi-cultural revolution. That actually one of the causes of 2008 crisis. So a lot of restrictions. And then now in China proper, many Buddhists. So many cases, some Chinese Buddhists invited some Tibetan sort of scholars or practitioners, give them some teaching, but not allow give sort of teaching on more sort of bigger gathering, only private houses. So there are a lot of sort of restrictions. And then So I think after 2008 crisis, one sort of incident, one official delegation from Chinese government, suppose go to some foreign tour. Among them, one Tibetan cadres,
Tibetan cadre.
Tibetan cadre,
Official.
in that official delegation. At airport, other Chinese, no problem, but that Tibetan, although they one of the officials in the official sort of delegation, but that Tibetan, because you see his Tibetan nationality or Tibetan
Right.
so he take another house and a lot of questions. Then finally, fortunately, he joined the other delegation like that. So lot of restrictions. So long, one Tibetan, being Tibetan, they show suspicion, distrust. So the religious freedom, time passes worsened. And Tibetan, very, very religious-minded. So when you see more restrictions happen, more resentment. That's the causes of human rights violation. Like that. Then their desire, my return. In early 80s, now one example, 1980, late Hu Yangpang, visit Lhasa. He publicly admit their past mistake. And actually he scolded the local authority. Central government spent a lot of money, but where gone this money? He scolded. And in fact, according sort of reliable information, before his visit, he sent some trusted his own sort of friend, sent to Tibet and research what really going on there. So he already got the clear information. His own sort of trusted people carry objectively, study or research objectively. So he already got this information. So when he reached Lhasa, as usual, local official give him very nice report. Then he say, I know already the situation. I do not want to listen your artificial report. Like that. He, unusual sort of communist, very realistic communist. I may say, genuine follower of Marxism. Other communists forget Marxism, but follow Lenin's ruthless sort of control. As far as Marxism is concerned, I myself consider as a Marxist. I really believe. I think you may find it a little bit sort of strange. I am Buddhist monk, but as far as socio-economic theory is concerned, I prefer Marxism rather than capitalism. Yeah, why? So in any way, so my main reason, soon after Hu Yangpang visited Lhasa, the central government offered 5-point proposal to me, as a 5 proposal, mainly about my return. Then I immediately, respond to the central government, Chinese central government. This is not the issue. Issue is 6 million Tibetan people's well-being, their basic right. unless Chinese government address seriously the basic issue, no point to ask me to return. The situation, night 17 March 1959, I left Lhasa. Say, there are sort of desperate situation. The situation is desperate. So there's no other alternative except escape. So that situation now today even worse. So there's no point to return. Clear? So I received a message from Tibet. Ordinary Tibetan, faithful Buddhist, faithful Buddhist, particularly the old people, they send message before they die. They want to see me, so please return. More sensible Tibetan, more better education, more political minded people, they send message to me, although they are very, very eager to see you as soon as possible. But under present circumstances, they feel Dalai Lama remain free country is much benefit to Tibetan nation, to Tibetan culture. Like that. So that's the situation.
Very short question and Postimees.
I think mainly my answer should short.
We have 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Alo Raun and I am from newspaper Postimees, the online edition of it. And I have a question about Russia, actually the relations between Estonia and Russia. You know, Russia is to us like China is to Tibet. The only difference is that we have regained our freedom. You are still in the process. So the question is that it seems Estonia does everything to improve relations with Russia, but Russia is not interested. So why strong countries like Russia don't follow the values and principles that you are sharing with us today, for example? How to motivate Russia to change?
No. That is not only Russian case, but those big powers. Usually, you see, they are sort of say. I think in the past, up to now, generally, you see, the politicians or leaders, not much talk, not much concern about human values. However, in the recent decades, some statement of politician, the word compassion gradually appear. But previously, no. Politics is politics. The compassion is something, I think sometimes people consider compassion, the practice of compassion actually weaken the person. That kind of sort of attitude. So not only Russia, but many sort of bigger sort of nations, that kind of sort of happen. I think time changing. Now, firstly, I think Soviet Union now collapse. At least more sort of freedom of speech, more freedom of different publication, are now happening. So it is understandable. I think 70 years, 7 decades sort of, what's the establishment, the impact of the 7 decades sort of system. Changing take time. The other day I mentioned when I was in South Africa, the constitution changed. The system democratic. The black majority have the sort of power. But in people's mind, still, you see, I mean, some different. So I told that occasion. I told now it's quite natural to transform our mental attitude. But then I told my African sort of brothers sisters, black African sort of brothers sisters, you must realize basically black people, white people, so they mentally or the intellectual level, same potential. One time I met one African family. I visit one family, and then I had some discussions. Then one member of that family, as a teacher, when I mentioned equality, these things, he expressed to me he believed black African mentally little weaker than white people. Then I really surprised, really and sad. Then I argue thoroughly with him. This is totally wrong. Only the question is opportunity. Opportunity there. The black people can build, can use their intelligence equally. Same potential. Lot of reasoning. And I made example about Tibet, some Han, bad Chinese. There are many good Chinese also there. As Chinese people, wonderful, hardworking, intellectual, cultured people. But some, you see, the hardliner or bad Chinese, you see, they consider we Tibetan backward. But now I think many scholars from the West, they already noticed Tibetan brain is, if not better, but not behind than Chinese brain. In the past 1,000 years, Tibetan produced marvelous top scholars. The writing, when we study these writing, wrote by Tibetan, marvelous. Very few such text wrote by Chinese.
rääkides siis su küsimus oli
So if they show hardliner way, I also respond a little bit hardliner way.
nii et küsimus puudutas siis Eesti-Vene suhteid ja
So finally, I made this example and a lot of argument. Then finally, that teacher, one black African teacher with long sigh, he whispered me, now I convinced we are same. We have same sort of quality, potential, he mentioned. That moment, I relieved so tremendous sort of feeling. At least I changed one individual's mental state. Previously, feel inferior. From that moment, change, equal. I really feel happy. I made some contribution. So I want to tell you, Estonia, small nation, I think under the sort of the right person, or under the sort of wise leadership, and also people, public, if you make more hard work, development, external things, as I mentioned earlier, the sustainable sort of economic sort of progress. Meantime, pay more attention of inner sort of values, then your democracy truly be sort of honest, democratic, and equal, and also can reduce gap rich to poor. Then eventually, Big Brother also may follow example of your achievement.
ja ma Eestile
Russia, too big. Even if you leaders want to lead that way, not easy. So take more time. I think if you can, because a smaller nation can achieve within 1 decade, I think this big nation may take another 3-4 decades. So eventually you can show Russia, oh, we are better sort of happier society, clean environment. Of course, through not bad sense, but really, honestly, and sort of keep genuine sort of what's the brotherhood, sense of brotherhood with Russia, and respect great Russian people. Then I think your influence can be more effective. If you stand a little negative way, then even though you have some good thing to teach Russia, but if your attitude a little bit sort of harsh or negative, then they won't follow. Clear? Of course, this is not my business. So I also, you see, that growing my nose little bigger. Thank you. You have one?
me tõesti oleme väga.
Yes, yes.
It's not.
Yes. Okay.
If your Holiness can use only 3 words, what is happiness?
What is happiness?
3 words.
According sort of, according I think they, I think common sense. According common sense, happiness means mainly satisfaction. Even pain, sometimes pain also brings deep satisfaction. So when I use the word happiness, is satisfaction. And satisfaction brings some satisfaction out of fear, out of hatred, that's different. But genuine satisfaction really brings inner peace and relax. Like that.
Only 1 word, satisfaction.
Hmm?
Only 1 word, satisfaction.
Korsa. Yes.
62 satisfactions, happiness and satisfaction.
Oh, satisfaction. I think satisfaction.
vastuseks on ainult üks sõna, siis rahulolu.
Oh.
nii, suur tänu kõigile, et te saite tulla. Sellega on meie pressikonverents lõppenud.
That's not the case. I notice among my friend, some are billionaire, very rich. But they ask me frankly, sometimes they really frankly told me they are very unhappy. Too much stress, too much worry, and lonely feeling. Other hand, some poor people, very happy. So they actually sort of happiness or satisfaction much depend on our own inner value. So that I want to share. So therefore, I always make sort of effort, make better awareness. The ultimate source of happiness is with forgiveness, tolerance, and self-discipline, contentment, moral ethics. These are basis of moral ethics. So all major religious traditions have same potential, and the last few thousand years they really served humanity immensely. And today also, millions of people get benefit from these various different religious traditions. In the future, also you see, they will sort of, they remain sort of source of inspiration to millions of people. Yet, not only in the history, past history, but even today, different religious faith, sometimes causing conflict. Like in Northern Ireland, I noticed the Protestant and Catholic. Now, whenever I meet media people, I always sharing two things. Number one, as I briefly mentioned there also, my number one commitment as a human being, on the human level, of course everybody want a happy life, successful life. Then mistake in modern world is if people believe or that kind of attitude, the ultimate source of happiness, successful life is money or power. Good morning, everybody. Firstly, my short visit here, Estonia, I really enjoy. All the concerned people, also they take every care. I very much appreciate. And then also the yesterday public meeting, large number of people as you can, in spite of the hot sun, they remain full, attentive survey, alert.
Full, alert, alert.
So I very much appreciate it in ourselves. So of course money important, but meantime there's no point to neglect about our inner value. Oh. And then inner value also you see not necessarily with religious belief. So my approach to promote human value through secular way. Then second commitment on the level, now I am Buddhist monk. So more sort of acquaintance with follow of other tradition. It's very clear. In spite different philosophy, but all have same practice of love, compassion, and with that